Good morning. This is Karl Dakin, and with me today is Boris Mannsfeld, my partner, co-host in the Belize Real Estate and Lifestyle Show.
Good
And
morning, everybody. Good morning.
we're here to share information on the country of Belize. We'll talk about anything that might be of interest to you. This is a live stream show where the audience who is tuning in can ask questions, make comments, and anything else that helps us answer any information you'd like to find out about the country of Belize. So, with that, we're going to talk today primarily about a particular project that Boris is working on, which is an island. And so this is going to be a fun conversation as we explore this from many perspectives as a potential business opportunity, as a way of enjoying the second largest barrier reef in the world, and other things that may be from a tourist standpoint or from an environmental protection standpoint. We got so many things to talk about.
Yeah, lots of fun.
So, Boris, now I'll give a little background about myself. I'll hog the stage for just
All
a
right.
few minutes longer. So,
Yeah, you go for
um,
it.
this show is kind of a joint venture between myself, Karl Dakin. I am a capital coach who works with businesses and community projects to raise funding. I'm based in Denver, Colorado, and I had an opportunity to visit and learn about Belize many, many years ago. And this led to my getting to meet Boris and working with him. And the net result is now we're doing some stuff together to benefit students at the University of Denver. And we are exploring other and new projects, which could be business projects, or they could be social cause projects, or an expansion of educational programs. So lots to talk about.
Yep.
So, Boris, I see you've introduced yourself, spelled Boiris. Is that the correct spelling?
Well, it's not. Being super busy, my typing skills are not very good. So my fingers are faster than my skills. So,
Yeah.
so
So,
no, it's
yeah.
it's Boris. I haven't changed my name yet, but maybe
So,
one.
yeah, introduce yourself
Yeah.
to the audience for those who are new, and your companies and what you're working on, and then we'll dive into our island project.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. My name is Boris, not Boris. Boris Mannsfeld. I'm based here in Denver as well. I developed real estate here in Colorado for a long time, and for many years. I got my MBA at the University of Denver back a while ago, and been in the real estate market ever since. And I started developing property here for a long time, and then I started getting involved in Belize around 1992. I started going down there just for vacation, fell in love with the country, kept going back over and over, and eventually saw that there was a real estate opportunity down there and started picking up property here and there, did a little fix and flips, just little land flips and stuff, and did a bunch of other things. And eventually I opened up a large development project called the Villas of Cocoa Plum, which is a 100-unit luxury beachfront condominium development that I'm still working on. And then over the years, also opened up Boris Mannsfeld and Associates (BMA). That's one of the largest real estate firms in the country. We specialize in the Placencia area, but we have also resorts, islands, beach homes, lots, farms, anything you can imagine. We pretty much market and sell down in Belize. So those are my main ventures down there. I have other small resorts that I'm partnered up with some investors, and just have a lot of experience in Belize. Like I said, I've been down there for over 32 years now. So I'm super well connected with a lot of people down there, and very involved with the community. Very active in the environment down there. Yeah, it's a great country. The people are so friendly, and everybody speaks English. Lots of great opportunities. So that's really my sort of summary. I just got back from Belize last night. Actually, I came in about midnight last night. I had a long flight due to some delays over in Houston. I had a great week down there. had some people that came down with me and some media people, and we had a great time, and everything's going good down there. Right now, I am really focused on this condominium development that I'm just broke ground on some new buildings. So we're moving forward with more construction. And yeah, that's sort of the summary of where I'm at. And we had good weather down there. It was nice and warm. I left on Saturday, right when the nasty weather came in here in Denver, and came back on Wednesday, right when it was all over. So I think I got pretty lucky.
Yeah, I would say so. Since we had sub-zero weather here, it was a little bit wicked for a while. We had all the warnings out, and then we throw some snow on top of it. And there's nothing like shoveling snow in sub-zero temperature to really get one thinking about, wouldn't it be nice to own an island? So that kind of sets the table for today's conversation.
Yeah.
The Boris has a project that's an island, and the island is in the Great Barrier Reef of Belize, as opposed to the one off of Australia. It's the second largest in the world. It's got lots and lots of islands, and this is one of those. So, Boris, why don't you give us a little background on the island and how you came to be in ownership, and then we'll talk about where it may lead us.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick overview. There is, as Karl mentioned, there's lots of islands in Belize, especially in southern Belize near the Placencia area. The Barrier Reef is about 20 miles off the shore there, off of Placencia. What happens is the Barrier Reef breaks all the big waves and the swells from coming in towards the mainland. So we have 20 miles of sort of peaceful waters, and we have hundreds of islands down there. Most of them are undeveloped. There's several of them like Reiki Resort, King Louis Island, several of them that have been developed and are really nice to visit. We were actually at Reiki a couple of days ago when we were out looking at these islands and doing some snorkeling and everything. So the islands are really beautiful down there. Most of them are privately owned. They've changed hands many times over the last 20 years. And you do get full ownership of these islands. You get title and everything, which is great for an investment. And through my real estate company BMA, we've sold quite a few islands to people down in Belize. So this island, we came across it. It was a listing we had. Somebody wanted us to sell it for them, so we put it on the market. And I decided myself it would be a great project for the Villas of Coco Plum, which is the condominium resort that I'm working on. So I decided to move forward with the acquisition. And we have now some great plans there to do like a environmental research center there and work with the local NGOs to do some environmental education, ocean research, and really get people more involved in what's going on down, not just in Belize, but in the oceans in general. As everybody knows, due to global warming and all the plastics and microplastics, it's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed. So we have this island now, and it's a great spot, and we were planning on doing all that. Yeah. So we have sort of a bunch of ideas. Nothing's etched in stone yet.
Okay. Let's see if I've got the picture here that I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot. It's real close to the Barrier Reef. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to get out there from the Villas of Coco Plum. And it's a really nice spot there. Lots of coral around it. One of the really great features of the island is that half of it is under a conservation easement. And that conservation easement is run by a NGO down there called Southern Environmental Association, SEA. And they manage half the island. And the local rangers that work for the government, they actually live on half of the island. So they're out there patrolling all the waters in the region there for illegal fishing, making sure people have their fishing licenses, make sure there's no foreigners coming in there and like from Guatemala or Nicaragua, Honduras to overfish the waters in Belize. So it's great to have those rangers out there and to have SEA involved, because it's a great jumping off point for what we want to do with the island, which is the conservation component and the research and environmental studies out there.
So Boris, can you see the picture of the island on the screen?
I did. Beautiful place. Wow. I like it.
Yeah. So Yeah, I've got more pictures to share here that Boris sent over to me. And you can see on the island the current operations of the conservation organizations and
Yep.
groups that are working there. And as you look around the island, you can see that there's like great areas for snorkeling and diving and so forth. And if you had really good eyes, you could see islands out in the far distance there.
Yeah.
Boris, how many islands are there that are in this barrier reef? How
Well,
many?
Belize has hundreds and hundreds of islands. There's a bunch of them, anywhere from an eighth of an acre to 500 acres. We have some really big islands down there. This island here is 4 acres. And we have different types of islands down there. We have mangrove-based islands, which are basically just a bunch of trees, mangroves that sort of protect the island. And we have coral-based islands that are more based on coral reef, which are very stable. And then you have more sand-based islands, which sort of move around a little bit as the wind and the currents sort of shift the water and the waves and the sand around. Those islands stay in the same spot. They sort of have erosion and come and go a little bit. And there's just lots of different types of islands down there. And some of them are surrounded by lots of coral reef like this one. And almost all of them have great fishing, snorkeling, diving, all that around these islands. And this one is particularly nice because it has a lot of flat areas where the water is only maybe a foot deep around a lot of it. So there's lots of great fly fishing around there. When I was out a couple of days ago around these islands with some clients, our fishing guide / captain said he really likes this island because there's great fishing around it and a lot of marine activity. So I think it'll be a great place to put this sort of conservation research center out there.
Yeah, so let's talk about what that might look like. I've worked with a number of tourism sites that are themed to provide support to a social cause. Some of these are in forest restoration. Some of these have to do working with animals and so forth. So what would this site look like if it is established as a ecotourism site that supports the work of the groups that are on the island?
That's a good question. We want to make it a very low-key type of development. We don't want to go out there. A lot of these islands are being developed in the high-end resorts and things like that. I definitely don't have any desire to do that. I want to conserve as much of it as I can. So I think we're going to put a couple of maybe 2 or 3 one-story little bungalows out there that'll be hidden in the trees there. As you can see, the island is very wooded with palm trees as well as some oak trees and stuff. So we would put just a couple of small bungalows out there, have some rooms there for overnight for guests, bunk rooms as well as single family or single bedrooms for more privacy, and then have some research equipment out there, room for the dive gear and for the NGOs to do what they need to do. Some of the things that I'm thinking about doing out there is obviously doing testing for the waters for plastics and microplastics. Also, maybe doing some seaweed farming. Seaweed's really getting more and more popular globally for food as well as for your skin and all kind of things that they're discovering they can do with that. And Belize is pretty good for seaweed farming. So that's one thing we would do. And then there's one NGO down there called Fragments of Hope, and they do a lot of coral restoration, coral regrowth down there. They've gotten actually global recognition for figuring out how to actually regrow coral. So I've already done some sponsorship for them in terms of funding and stuff. So I want to keep working with them and hopefully get them involved here on the island so they can have a good little place to be based out there. So there's lots of things we can do. Recycling of plastics. There's a million things. There's lots of birds out there in the region, so you could do bird studies. And obviously turtles are out there, and whale sharks, all kind of animals that they could be further studied and researched. So there's lots of good opportunities out there.
Yes, I've talked with some of the different institutes that are studying whales that are based in Massachusetts, and they've come up with some great new modern technologies for studying whales. It used to be that all they had was the knowledge of when the whale surfaced and came above the water, and they had pictures and so forth like that. But they managed to come up with a drone that could drop a camera with suction cups on it
Oh,
so
wow.
that it attaches to the back of the whale. And then they loaded every possible sensor on these attachments. So now they get audio, video, they get all this, everything, that's going on in and around the whale, both above the surface and below the surface. And they're building a catalog of this to help them understand whales and contribute to the preservation of whales wherever they happen to be. There, as you say, there's so many different animals that are in this natural ecosystem. There are so many things that we still need to know, need to learn in order to preserve this, because part of the joy and beauty of going to an island is to experience the animals, the natural ecology that's there. And so it's in some ways considered a fragile system where we have to be extremely careful that we're keeping it natural the way it is, or otherwise our presence is disrupting all that and defeating the whole purpose of being there.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of programs like this, like in Yellowstone, where it used to be you could feed the bears and they would come up to your
Yeah.
car and try to get food from you. And everybody goes, that's really a bad idea for two reasons. One, the bears are hungry and your food, and the
Yeah.
other is you're disrupting the lifestyle of the bears, and in a bad way.
Yeah.
So do you see this? And as a guy who raises funding, I'm always asking the question, is this a potential sustainable enterprise that you could put on the island? Meaning that could you raise the money from investors, build the buildings, and use and rent them out in a way that would pay the investors back? Do you think that that's possible, or is this going to end up more of a charitable thing where you're going to be dependent upon donations in order to make this all work?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Even with charity donations, they still have to be funded. And there's always cash flow. So even if it is a charity event or a program, there's got to be money in place to maintain the buildings, build the buildings, keep it operating, insurance, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, even though it might be a charity thing, nobody wants the charity to keep bleeding money every week. Eventually it just becomes a headache. So I think there is potential there for things like that. I mean, my main goal is to allow my guests out at the condominium development, the Villas of Coca Plum, to come out there and have an opportunity to go out there and overnight and have the kids be able to go out there and get a little bit more involved with Mother Nature and the ocean and really get more involved with conservation. So there could be a slight fee charge for that. Obviously they would have to pay for transportation to get out there and things like that, and have a small fee for staying the night. So that would definitely be able to raise some money. Also, it could be open, more to the public or to conservation groups or university groups that could come out there and stay out there for a week or two. For instance, like University of Denver, the program that you and I are doing with them right now is more on a business perspective. But this could be a great program for universities that are more involved with biology or marine biology and those kind of things. Also for marketing, there's all kind of different internships we could do out there for a week or 2 weeks or the whole summer, where people could either the university could pay for leasing the island and allow their students to do some on the ground education, or we could even rent out a few rooms for people who would just want to come out there and spend the night and to observe island life, like Robinson Crusoe. I've stayed at these islands before, and it's sort of eerie at times because you're out there totally on just a small little island in the middle of nowhere. But it's very peaceful, and it's nice to be out there, and you just hear the wind blowing in the coconut trees, and you hear the waves, and it's pretty nice.
Yeah. So, this kind of stirs my creative blood. As an entrepreneur, I'm always interested in ways to make money, but my goal isn't necessarily to make money, but to engage in a new activity, do something new and interesting. And I've worked with, I would say, over a dozen different projects in my career that would seem to apply to this situation, ranging from a project I was commissioned on a number of years ago to take an island in the South Caribbean and convert it into its own sovereign nation. And so we were exploring different ways to make money off of the island to pay for itself using a fee-based government approach instead of a tax-based government approach. And of course, in that case, we are looking at things like cruise ships and gaming parlors and all the usual suspects.
Yeah.
But I also worked with another project where they were trying to do a land conservation, and we were trying to figure out how to generate that revenue to pay for the taxes on the property, the expenses associated with property management. And in that one, we came up with a number of cameras that were used to capture in real time animals doing their thing wherever they happened to be. And these were then relayed so you could subscribe to a camera or a group of cameras that watch a particular area.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, I was introduced to a conservation group that's been working primarily in Africa, but they're in a half a dozen countries now. And they are using, they've got the camera system figured out. They've figured out how to go from a very remote location. And they're doing this primarily to protect large animals like rhinos and elephants from poaching. And it's been very effective. They have switched from a volunteer to a subscription service where people pay for the privilege of monitoring what's going on, so that in real time, if somebody crosses a line in front of a camera carrying a gun that clearly is a poacher, they can call in the authorities and stop it. So we've got all that. Then at Boris, as you described it, this could be a upgrade amenity to someone who is a visitor to the villas at Coco Plum. Going back to this, Boris has a ongoing development called the Villas at Coco Plum, where he's building condominiums on the beach. It's a beautiful Caribbean side development just north of Placencia on the peninsula. And from there, you can take a boat from the dock and go out to this island. So as one of my questions, Boris, how do you get to this island? Because waiting seems to like it might take too long, or swimming might take too long.
Yeah. Hey, Karl, if you can switch the website on there too, it's the Villas at Coco Plum, not the Villas at CocoPlumRentals.com. Just
okay, I will switch that out.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to get out to the island. They're really ambitious people can swim. That would take a little while though. It's probably about 15 miles out, or a little bit more. So boat traffic down in Placencia is really easy. We have lots of different boat captains down there, and private fishing captains, and scuba guides, snorkeling guides. There's always a boat to be had that can go out to these islands. And so it's pretty quick to get out there, like I said, 30 to 45 minutes, depending on what the weather is like and how fast your boat is. And it's pretty much a direct shot to get out there. So it's pretty easy to get there. We also have private helicopter charter service in Belize. So you could take a helicopter out there as well. I don't think we have a landing pad yet out on this island, but at Ray Key, which is only about 5 minutes away by boat, They have a helicopter pad out there. A nice thing about being where it's located is also that we're close to Ray Key, and Ray Key has is a full-scale resort out there on the island. So they have restaurants and all kind of stuff out there. So there's also a possibility to somehow get out to Ray Key and then come back over here to this island. So getting there is not a problem. We also plan on having a boat that's going to be at the Villas of Coco Plum, which can then take you out to the island, in the morning and come back in the afternoon, something like that.
Okay.
And getting out to these islands in Belize, it's really pretty because there's so many different islands out there. And when you go to one island, you got to sort of zigzag between the other islands. So you get to see a lot of different variety of islands, mangrove, sandy. Some of them are built out, some are not. You may see dolphins and turtles. We were out the other day. We saw a bunch of turtles. One of my clients saw a dolphin the other day. I didn't see it, but they did. And there's all kind of stuff out there. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah. And then, sometimes when you go out to these islands, along the way, you can bring some snorkel gear or some fishing gear and do a little fishing along the way or some snorkeling along the way. So there's lots of stuff to do. Yeah. In general, the water is pretty calm, even if the weather is bad, because the barrier reef is out there protecting all the mainland there. So the big waves break on the barrier reef. So we don't have these big 10, 20-foot swells that you have to deal with, even in the bad weather.
Okay. Let me see if I can get a different picture here. And
yeah, so yeah, the island, it's got lots of palm trees out there, and it's like I mentioned earlier, there's some flats around there where it's really good for fly fishing. There's also some deep water not too far away, so it's ideal for snorkeling, fishing, and also just relaxing. It's pretty peaceful out there. I was out there a couple of days ago, and all there are is a bunch of palm trees and some pelicans and a few birds here and there, and it's not too bad. And then we actually had a lot of hermit crabs out there too, a ton of them. They live in those little shells. Some of them are only about the size of maybe a ping pong ball, or some of them as big as a coconut. And the hermit crabs and their crabs just run around the island everywhere. It's sort of fun to watch.
yeah, I was trying to get a picture to show you where this island is at. Let's see if this gets me there. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is a picture of the Belize on the left with the yellow line going from Placencia, where Boris is home based, out to the island. According to Google Earth, this is about 10 miles offshore. Does that sound about right?
Yep, sounds about right.
And so this entire area, as you can see, all those light spots on the right, those are all islands and or reefs that are great places for fishing, diving, anything that you want to do as an outdoor ocean sport. You've got just an immense range of activities from a tourism standpoint. And tourism is also a business. So you can look at this as we talk about on the show. There are 3 reasons why you might want to be in Belize. One might be to have a business and operate it down there. One might be to go to visit as a tourist to take advantage of all the different things you can do in Belize. And the third thing is to retire, as a lot of people get to that point in life where they say, I want to kick back, but instead of having snowstorms and sub-zero temperatures like we're experiencing in Denver, I'd rather be on a beach. So this gives you that opportunity to do one or all 3 of those at the same time. So what do you think are your next steps for this particular property? How would you go about moving from this concept, as I call it, to what I refer as an opportunity or a business that might pay for itself?
The next step, we gotta keep moving forward, right? Right now, I think one of the next steps is to get together with the NGOs down there, to really figure out what their involvement could be or should be, and get more of a concrete plan from them to see what their commitment is and what their needs are. So I have been meeting with them, but not to the exact detail. I know they all want to be involved, but we're not exactly sure how yet. So I think that's really the next step, and that can then guide us on which direction we want to go with it. I mean, if they're saying they don't need any overnight stays at all, then we don't need to put as many rooms there. If they said, oh yeah, we'd love to be out there full time with 5 people 24/7, then we need to make sure we accommodate for that, because we got to have power and water and all that, those kind of things, which is not an issue out on an island. It's easy to do, but you just got to properly plan for it. So I think that's the next step, is really to talk with the NGOs. And then the next step after that would be to really put together the business plan for how it would work. Because like we mentioned earlier, even though it may be a charity kind of thing, still got to have some numbers, and you still got to know what it's going to cost. So then we would have to see what the cost is going to be to build it and to operate it, and to maintain it. And then we can figure out, well, how do we pay for it? Then we can either, maybe the NGOs, maybe they have some grants set up already for some donors who would be looking or something like this. Or there's also some of the development organizations like the UNDP and the Inter-American Development Bank, the United Nations. They all donate funds to Belize and also globally for conservation projects like this. So that might be a different avenue where we can get some funding. And there's also private donors who as well could donate, for conservation projects, who are interested in helping out the environment. For some charity or philanthropic organizations or family offices, this is what they do. They donate money for good causes. So that'd be definitely another place to look for. And then obviously work the numbers out, as you had mentioned, maybe some overnights, and to generate some income to maintain it. So yeah, there's a few steps to go before we get going. The good thing is, it wouldn't take long to build anything out there, to be honest with you, because we would build something pretty low key. We wouldn't build some big cement monstrosity. We would build something probably out of wood. Might be easier. We'll see.
Not necessarily hurricane proof.
Well, I mean, you can build it hurricane proof out of wood. I mean, if you do it right. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
big timbers and big hurricane tie downs and straps, and you can design it that it could be hurricane proof. So that'd be another step, is to figure out exactly what we need. But I think the first is to work with the NGOs.
Okay. More questions to follow here. You mentioned that if you put out basically a place where people are staying around the clock year round,
Yeah.
then you've got to have power, water, waste, and all those kinds of things. And obviously, if we're working to have a zero impact on the local ecology, how does one go about doing that on an island? And I ask this at the micro scale of this island, which is, you're talking a few people on the island.
Yeah.
But I'm also talking with a lot of people today about the concepts of smart cities, cities of the future, which are completely independent, meaning they have their own power, water, sewer for all the residents. They're not dependent upon a centralized grid here in the United States or other types of things. So how do you make an island to be totally self-sufficient?
That's a very good question. Fortunately enough, down in Belize, we've done quite a bit of island development through some of my companies. We have a lot of experience with that, and there's a lot of contractors down there who know how to develop these islands, as well as some developers that I'm good friends with who have developed a lot of these islands. So I have the resources and the information and some of the experience to make sure it gets designed properly with minimal impact. A lot of people always ask, wow, it must be difficult to put power out there and water and all that. And that's really not that hard, because with water, we usually catch the rainwater from the gutters. So your house has gutters. We are in the tropics, so we do get rain. It's not always sunny. And you just catch the rainwater, and you have these big above ground plastic storage tanks. The water goes from the gutter into the storage tank, and you got your water. We also then install a small desalination plant. So if we do run out of water that we catch, we can convert the salt water into some potable water. And as you know, there's plenty of salt water out there, so that shouldn't be a problem. And it's not that expensive to have a small desal plant. And in terms of power, a lot of places now use the latest technology in battery power and solar. As you know, that's come a long way, especially with like Tesla. They have this battery bank. It's called a Tesla battery bank, and it's a really advanced battery storage system to catch solar power. So quite a few islands have utilized that program out there, and we get plenty of sun. So with these batteries, you should be able to store plenty of power and have enough power to run completely without needing any other source. But what a lot of the islands also do, they have a backup diesel generator just in case they run out of power with solar and the batteries maybe aren't charged enough. It rains for too long or something like that. So you do have a backup. And then there's always the put everybody on a bicycle and generate some gerbil power too. I'm in the bike, so I don't have a problem with that. But I think some people may not like that. Get up at 5 a.m. and start generating power. So that's power. We have a lot internet out there now, so you have line of sight cell towers on the mainland, and we're about 10, 15 miles away. So getting cell coverage is not a problem. AT&T, they all work really well in Belize. And then sewer. Right now, most of the islands are using basically a septic type system on the islands. I think that could probably be a little bit more advanced if we wanted to, with more like microbiotic systems that use aeration and everything to really create more of a gray water that's really clean that can be put back into the ground. And there are also some very advanced compostable toilet systems. There's all kind of stuff out there now that people can utilize to minimize the impact of human waste.
Yeah, there's so many things going on as you described, anywhere from I'll call it more mechanical systems to more biological systems, where they take what is called black water or dark sewage and they run it through a system that, and I've seen some cases are actually create a botanic garden with special plants that uptake all the stuff and convert everything that is harmful into something that's positive. And more things to experiment with and more things to demonstrate that it is possible to live with nature without putting nature aside.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And being on an island is a great place to try that. You can show people that, hey, we can be out here without being connected to the grid, without really creating any waste or creating any greenhouse gases. And the more plants we plant, and the more seaweed we plant in the ocean, that those are all great absorbers of carbon dioxide. So you can definitely set it up where you're carbon neutral or carbon negative, where you're actually sucking up more carbon than you're producing. So there's lots of great things we can do out there, lots of ideas, experimentation. And as technology gets more advanced in the world for like sewage treatment and everything, solar power, everything, there's lots of things we can do out there to take advantage of some of those new technologies.
Yeah, so as we move forward, it looks like the steps are as follows. One is talk with the NGOs, find out how they are working, what we can do to help support them do all they can do.
Yeah.
And then understanding how to be not only symbiotic with nature, but also with the NGOs on the island. Then we can talk about developing a number of programs that can help contribute money towards the build out, towards the maintenance of the facilities, and to what extent that can be accomplished without going too far, too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking, there's, and we had mentioned earlier about how we can generate money out there. Belize is a real popular destination for saltwater fly fishing. And fly fishermen and women will pay anything to catch the grand slam or catch a permit, which is a type of fish that is available in Belize that's really hard to catch. So that's another thing we can do out the island. We can have, certain weeks, 1 week a month, just leave it open for fly fishing people to come out there and stay for a week, and they can use that as their base to go fly fishing. And we can generate some very good income that way, and that'll help pay the cost. So there's lots of ways to keep the place, first get it developed, and second to keep it operating.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to visit Long Neck Manor down in Fredericksburg, Texas last year, which is a wildlife conservation area in Texas for giraffes and for
Great.
rhinos.
Okay.
And, beautiful, beautiful setting. They built a facility to work with the animals, and then engaged in a number of projects with NGOs on rescue of animals that had been injured or displaced. And then they built 5 luxury villas that are within, I will call it, feeding distance of the giraffes. And they charge a premium price for those, and they are booked solid.
Oh, great.
This facility. So I think there's some lessons there that could be applied in what we're talking about here, where, as you say, we have working quarters for people who are engaged seriously in helping and working with the NGOs. We may have observation villas for those who simply want to be passive observers, but are willing to pay a price. And what this is we call this robbing Peter to pay Paul is a business model. We charge a premium price over here to cover the cost of other things over here, which by definition are an amenity or a form of entertainment, or whatever you want to call it, to the people who are paying the premium price. And this is a balancing from a business standpoint as opposed to an economic standpoint in putting this together. And then as you mentioned, there could be 3, 4, 5, a dozen maybe business opportunities that could be aligned with this if we put on our creative hat here and we think through this. And I'm currently looking at trying to create some new educational programs at the University of Denver within the School of Finance, the School of Hospitality, and the School of Real Estate. And I think getting the students at the university in one or more of these educational programs could help us, figure out how to design this from an engineering standpoint to be non-invasive, zero impact, how to work with these NGOs to help them be all they can be, and then look at these other business opportunities that can provide a portion of the money needed to set up and run this particular operation.
Yeah, I agree. And also, as I think you and I had discussed before, there's lots of opportunity for university kids to come out there and get, self-educated and, where the rubber meets the road. We got marketing, a marketing school at DU, and business school and hospitality and real estate, science. There's lots of different departments that could take advantage of a situation like this, where their students can come down there and do a marketing plan or hospitality plan and really get involved and have a real project that they can actually get their feet wet, hands wet, and, get into the ocean, literally get wet, and really create a great project. So there's lots of good opportunities there.
Yeah, so just to give everybody more background information, I'm acting as an adjunct professor at the University of Denver, and I am co-instructing a course for students, graduate students at the university called Belize International Financial Transactions. This course is being now taught once a year. We go through a series of classroom exercises where the students learn the culture, the business, and the government of the country of Belize, and they do a comparative analysis with what's going on here in the United States. So we are putting together a case project right now in the villas at Cocoa Plum, where the students can do different return on investment analysis as part of their educational learning process. But we're trying to figure out, how we can expand that. to make it better. And we'll be in Belize on the on-site portion of the course the last week of March, from March 23rd through there's an internet jump there. So we switch positions, but
Yeah. Hey.
yeah. Now I'm on the other side of the screen, which is great if we're in a political conversation, but this is not one of those. But what the students will try to do is we'll get out and visit the island, so we can get some on-site experience with the island, and then we can come back and figure out, get the students to give us some of their ideas on what might be done that would make a good additional course or group of courses for the university over time. So looking very much forward to that. We're teaching our first online session for this course at the end of the month next week. And then we'll go through a series of programs looking at how do you design an investment in real estate in a resort area is the primary focus of the study for this finance group. And then at the end of March, I get to be on a beach for a little bit. So definitely looking forward to that. I think that most people, and I don't know why, but a lot of people would like to own an island. And I actually looked up a quote today, just for adding a little bit of cerebral contribution to this. But there's a quote from a guy by the name of John Donne that no man is an island. And it actually ends with the quote that's in some ways also famous, which is, never send to know for whom the bells toll, it tolls for thee. So apparently he put this together as a advice to King Charles I. I think he was trying to point out to them that, you can be a king, but you're a person as part of a larger group.
Yeah.
And in some ways that applies to what we're talking about here with an island, where an island is one of many islands which makes up the Barrier Reef, which is part of the country of Belize. And we have to think about it individually, but we also have to think of it in the context of the environment, the Belizean people that live there, in terms of needing to self-sustain from a financial standpoint. So all these things make this a little more complex. But how many islands have you sold so far? What's your quota there?
Well, through the BMA real estate company, we sold quite a few islands. We're definitely the largest island broker in Belize. During the pandemic, we sold quite a few during that time, sight unseen. I think people were wanting to get, privacy, right, and get away from it all. And an island's definitely a way to do it. And so we sold quite a few, yeah. And they're running out; those supplies diminishing. Obviously, they're not making more islands, and most people who have sold it to people who are usually the end users now, and so there's not a lot more coming back on the market. So the supply's low and the demand's high, so prices are, going up, which is normal. You used to be able to get an island down there for $250,000, and much more, and now it's all way higher than that. 6, 7, 800,000, $1 million. They're definitely not cheap anymore.
And for those who are interested in buying an island and developing it as their I'll call it, that was Fortress of Solitude. Is that a Superman quote?
Yeah.
Try to get all of my Marvel characters, or that's DC? Never mind.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you wanted to build on an island, what does your cost look like for a building compared to building it on dry land?
That's a good question. Most people think it's going to be way, way more expensive, but it's really not. I mean, you're basically just paying for extra time and money to barge everything out there. So you're paying for the fuel and the time to barge it, but that's not that expensive. Also, depending on how far you are, some islands are just 10 minutes away, others are an hour away. So that has a big factor because it basically boils down how much gas you're going to use to get out there. So I would say it may be a 20% maybe increase over what it would cost in the mainland. So it's not a huge difference.
Right. No, and then you have basically your own beach in 360 degrees.
Yeah, and you got privacy. It's your own island. You can do whatever you want. You can paint the house pink. You can have pet turtles, or you can do whatever you want.
So
you just got to watch out for falling coconuts. Yeah.
Yes.
That happened to me the other day. One landed like 6 inches from me, and it fell down probably about 20 feet, and it was about that big around. And I heard this big thump, and I looked around. I'm like, oh, that was close.
Yeah, there are new hazards which are not common to people here in Colorado, and coconuts falling off the trees, one of those.
That's one of them.
So with that, if somebody's interested in buying an island or going to an island or anything, they can just basically contact you, Boris, and you can help them from there.
Yeah, definitely.
And would it be better for them to contact you through the Villas at Coco Plum or at Boris Mannsfeld and Associates?
Boris Mannsfeld and Associates. So it's basically Boris at BMABelizeRealEstate.com, or that website. Yeah, that'd be the best way to reach out. And like I mentioned earlier, you get fee simple title to these islands, so you own them outright. You don't need a local company or anything. You can buy it in a U.S. entity, your personal name, a trust, however you want to set it up. I can help you with all that, and I can also help you put a development plan together, interview some local contractors, get permits, get approvals, and all that kind of stuff. So it's not as hard as most people think it would be, and then you have your own place.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. So right now we know that no man is an island, but a man or woman can own an island, and they can own one in the barrier reef off of Belize, and it's affordable to a certain degree. It's not outrageously expensive, meaning that it's only for the super rich. And you have all the benefits of living out there in a place that is your own, surrounded by water and beaches. And it just sounds like something that a lot of people, including myself, go, well, let's make that.
Another nice thing about buying an island in Belize is you have very low operating costs because we have very low property taxes down there. So once you get your building set up out there and you're running off of solar power and catching your own rainwater, there's not a lot of expenses out there. Your property taxes would be probably less than $1,000 a year, and low income tax if you do end up renting out rooms and stuff. So it's definitely the initial cost is a little high, but after that, it's not too expensive.
Very good. Well, anything else that we should share with the audience today on islands not in Belize, but they're part of Belize.
Yeah,
they're off the mainland anyway.
Yeah, it's the islands are beautiful. Everybody speaks English down there. The waters are super clean. Very little boat traffic. We were out the other day out on the boat. We were out all day long, and we saw all day probably 8 boats in the whole day, small boats. So when you get out in the waters in Belize, especially near Placencia, you basically get out there and you have the whole ocean to yourself. It's pretty amazing. And plenty of marine life. There's not a lot of garbage in the water. All the reef is very healthy. So it's just a great place to visit, even just for a vacation or to obviously do ownership. But Belize is a great country, lots going on, and safe, and more direct flights now too, especially from DIA.
Yeah. So this covers our show for today on the topic of islands. And Boris and I are going to do more shows in the future. We're still working out the specific subjects that we want to cover. We welcome anyone who is watching this show to contact us and tell us if you have a particular topic that you would like to see us discuss. Our goal is to be basically a source of information on what's actually going on from people who are either in the United States or in Belize and want to go to Belize either for business, to visit or to retire. And we're going to do deep dives on each of those things as we go forward and kind of rotate through the 3 subject matters. So you get to see a little bit of everything. And we'll be sending pictures back in March from my next visit. Boris is yo-yoing down there back and forth all the time. And with the weather in Denver being what it is, I could see more reasons to delay coming back for the near future.
Yeah, I look forward to everybody coming down in March. It'll be a great trip, especially with all the DU kids and everything. It'd be great.
Yeah, and if you want to get a hold of me, this is my email address, kdakin@dakincapital.com. I'm always interested in helping people fund new business ventures or community projects or even charitable ecological projects, and figuring out how to make them work so they're sustainable through whatever combination of income and donations or investments we can do to make that happen. And some charities are completely dependent upon donations in order to operate. Some can generate revenue from what they're doing or working with others. Others can be adopted by businesses. Something I recommend to a lot of my business clients is that every business adopt 1 or 2 charities that they want to support. So there's different ways to get involved and to work with a charity that's trying to do good for the world, and open for you to contact me and have a discussion about that. I'm going to be doing a variety of educational programs on raising funding for charities, and this will become one of the subjects in my new book called Dakin's Edge, which is coming out next month. It basically is talking about how, if I'm a fan or a supporter of a charity, how I can conduct capital campaigns, i.e. donor campaigns, to support that charity as an independent person and help move that charity forward. And a lot of this is based upon my work with the Cancer League in Colorado, where I've rappelled off of high buildings to raise money for cancer research. And they have a program every year called Over the Edge, which is where the name of the book is coming from. So you'll see some pictures in the educational program of me dangling from ropes off of a high building. And don't worry, I'm having a great time. I have absolutely no fear of heights, which I found that a lot of my friends do. So they said, don't invite me to come watch. I think this particular island project is going to be a lot of fun, and a lot of you will probably have an interest in this and want to either participate or follow along, but even more, maybe you want to get involved. So contact either Boris or myself if you have an interest, and we'll see what we can do to weave you into a story that is good to tell for a long time.
Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of today's program. Contact Boris or myself for more information about this program that we're going to be going forward with, and as well as anything that has to do with Belize. We're happy to be a source of information for you.
Definitely.
So, okay.
Great. Thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate it. Stay warm. Think about the beach.